that is an efficient way from an administrative point of view. And so, as President of the United States, I, Barack Obama, will do what Medicare did for the elderly, or intended to do in 1965, and that is replace the private health insurance companies with a public insurance system, public payment, private delivery, and that will save $400 billion a year, because Medicare does not have an administrator who wants to get $10,000 an hour by denying claims, curtailing benefits, and excluding customers. And because Medicare will not have hundreds of thousands of clerks trying to figure out who to defraud, who to exclude, who to deny, day after day, for pre-existing conditions like pregnancy or epileptic fits in age 8, which aren't repeated but are on the record, and so on. Look at the arguments he could have made. He could have said Medicare correlates data. You don't have secret proprietary data about what works and what doesn't in terms of operations and pharmaceutical use and so on. You can organize it in a central pattern in order to catch bad situations early. Medicare for All liberates doctors to be paid in 15 days instead of having to hassle the insurance companies for months. Aetna, United Healthcare, Cigna. Medicare for All also allows doctors to practice medicine instead of bookkeeping and having to have one secretary for every doctor just for the paperwork of collections and cross-collections and all of these billings. He could have made the argument that the finest minds at Harvard and the General Accounting Office estimate that 10% of your entire health expenditures are defrauded by computerized billing fraud and abuse, manipulating codes and so forth. That amounts this year, President Obama could say, to $260 billion. And he could say, I was not elected president to let $260 billion of your dollars, American people, be looted and drained in return for nothing. Look at all the arguments he could have made. But he has one good argument on the other side. And that is the following. He could say, and my final argument, my fellow Americans, is that poll after poll shows that a majority of the American people, majority of doctors, and majority of nurses are for single payer, full Medicare for all. And here's his clincher for not following through. If I do make all these arguments, the swarms of lobbyists and political action committees will descend on Washington from Pfizer, from Merck, from Big Pharma, from the big health insurance giants, from the big hospital chains, and they'll smother Congress. And I don't think you, the American people, no matter what your opinion, no matter what your desperate desire is, will show up. You will not show up and smother the national capital with 1 million marches. You will not show up back in your congressional district and surround the local offices with powerful citizen demands. You will not show up by getting the media to write about this because you march down to your newspapers with your small business friends and say, you better start covering this instead of serving your advertisers, because we're your advertisers. What's our answer to that? That's not a frivolous argument he can make. You can say, not so fast, Barack. We expect you to be a transforming leader. You're the one who can get on CBS, NBC, ABC by snapping your fingers. You're the one who can get tens of thousands of people anywhere you go around the country. You're the one who has 13 million email lists from your campaigns. Don't make excuses for yourself. And he said, you know what? when the crunch comes, I can't do it by myself. Because I'm getting rid of a gigantic industry. And I'm putting the wood to another gigantic industry, the drug industry. I'm controlling their prices. And I'm exposing their rackets. And I'm putting out of business Aetna and United Healthcare. And I've got a couple million workers I got to find jobs for because they no longer can deny claims and curtail benefits and exclude people. So what is our answer? What is our answer to that? What he's saying is we have to get off our derriere. We have to stop rationalizing our futility. We have to develop a strong civic culture. We have to have fire in our belly to connect with what we know is wrong and what we know can be made right. Energy. Okay, there's an energy bill. It went through the House, had some very good things in it. It had a very bad thing, cap and trade. This is an invitation to massive global corruption. How do you measure it? How do you have offsets 3,000 miles away? Who's going to check on the fraud? On and on and on. How about people who are on the wrong end of the cap and trade? It monetizes pollution rights, not a very good thing, because pollution is a form of violence, and you start exchanging it, fiddling around with it. Some people are going to be near the heavy pollution, some people will be lighter. It's disgusting to even think about it, and it's shameful that the major environmental groups have gotten into it. They think sulfuric acid works. That's not an analogy. But the finest people in the House, Waxman and Markey, who shepherded this bill through, that was the promise for doing something about the equatorial forest, fuel efficiency, conservation, solar energy, which is in the bill. But they didn't go for a carbon tax. The carbon tax is clean. It's measurable. It's one stop. And it's so good, even Exxon is for it. Because Exxon doesn't want to get into the morass of cap and trade. But Exxon isn't enough for the Democrats in dealing with the Republicans in the House. But they made another mistake. And this is inexcusable. They allowed the revival of atomic energy with 100% U.S. taxpayer guarantees for an industry that has a 50% default rate, that cannot get Wall Street financing for $10 billion nukes, because the Wall Street boys want a 100% taxpayer guarantee, and so they go for $50 billion for the first stage under this bill. Now, you know here in Oregon, you're the only people who have ever mounted a citizen movement to shut down a nuclear plant, the Trojan plant, and some of the leaders are right here in this room. However, this company goes down hard, doesn't it, Lloyd? There's $1 billion that this company owes you. And eventually you'll get it because of Mr. Meek and Mr. Marvette and Mr. Kafuri. What a trio. We had a triumvirate like that.